Hello, English learners, and welcome back to my podcast. I'm recording this episode today from the spare bedroom of my parents' house here in Georgia. So I'm recording from the United States. Normally, I'm recording from my home in Mexico City, where you might hear background noises such as dogs barking or someone selling tamales or something like that. But here you might hear things like my dad knocking on the door to ask me something, or the neighbor outside mowing his yard. So if you hear any of those sounds, that's why. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about perfectionism in English or in language learning in general, and how perfectionism might actually make you sound less fluent in another language. I'm going to start with a little anecdote to explain what I mean when I say that perfectionism can make you sound less fluent, and conversely, how confidence and the lack of perfectionism can make you sound more fluent. When I was still learning Spanish, one day my Spanish teacher sent me a video of a Canadian girl speaking Spanish in Mexico. He told me that my Spanish was better than hers, but that he still thought it was a cool video and that I should check it out. So I started watching this video, and I thought, what is my Spanish teacher talking about? This girl's Spanish is way better than mine. I just listened to her and she sounded really fluent to me. But as I continued listening, I realized that I heard her making a lot of grammatical mistakes. She was conjugating verbs incorrectly, or sometimes not even conjugating them at all. She was also mixing up grammatical gender and using incorrect prepositions. She was making all kinds of mistakes. I realized that in reality, her Spanish was kind of bad. So why, when I first started watching the video, did I think she was super fluent? It was because she did not doubt herself even for a second. She had so much confidence in her Spanish that she could convince us that she was speaking it perfectly. She was being interviewed in Spanish, and whatever question they threw at her, she just answered it. She didn't pause to think about the words that she wanted to use or work out the verb conjugations in her mind before saying them. And that's because this girl was just focused on getting her message across. I think for her, her correctness in Spanish was not the thing that she was focused on at all. The thing that was most important to her was expressing her thoughts and ideas. It was saying what she needed to say in a way that she could be understood by others. And so, as a consequence, she sounded more fluent than someone who might have a higher level but doubts everything that they say. As an English teacher, I can think of so many of my students who, on paper, have a very high level of English. But sometimes, when it comes to speaking, they don't always sound the most fluent. And the students that have this problem usually are students who are very perfectionist. They would rather speak English perfectly or not speak it at all. And I think that this also, a lot of the times, ties into self-confidence and anxiety. A lot of these students who are such perfectionists about their English and about their correctness in English, they are so worried about other people's perceptions of them, about sounding as perfect as possible, and they're more worried about that than they are about expressing themselves and getting their message across. As an English teacher who spends so much time talking with non-native speakers in English, I can tell you that someone with just an intermediate level can actually sound a lot more fluent than an advanced speaker if they sound more confident when they speak. If that advanced speaker, when they speak English, tends to pause and think about things and analyze things in their head before speaking, they might sound less fluent than the person who actually has a lower level than them. In summary, I understand being a perfectionist. I'm kind of a perfectionist myself, and I really identify with the idea that if I'm going to speak another language, I want to do it really well. But we have to be careful that that perfectionism doesn't transform into a lack of self-confidence and an anxiety that prevents us from trying to communicate in another language and to express ourselves. To get over this perfectionism, you have to learn to let things go, which is a lot easier said than done. But you have to let go of the desire to control how you sound so much. You have to build up your self-confidence, maybe in other areas of your life. And of course, it's okay, and I highly recommend working on your accent and pronunciation in another language to make sure that your speech is clear and that other people understand you. But when you do this, make sure to try to focus on just one or two sounds at a time. If you try to improve all of your accent or all of your pronunciation at the same time, it will be completely overwhelming and you won't really be able to make very good progress. So definitely just try to focus on a few things at a time until you get them perfect, and then you can move on. One way to practice your pronunciation and accent in English is to practice shadowing. On my YouTube channel, I just published a new video talking about a very, very quick and easy way to practice shadowing to improve your pronunciation. The link will be in the show notes of this episode, so go check it out. Finally, remember that fluency is all about communication, not about flawless linguistic ability. Listen to other non-native speakers who might still make mistakes in English, but still sound confident and sound like great, efficient speakers and communicators. And while I encourage everyone to work on the parts of their pronunciation that they can improve to make themselves communicate more clearly, you should still embrace your accent and your imperfections. And if you do this, your confidence will increase and you will start to sound much more fluent in English. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to know more about how I can help you improve your pronunciation, fluency, and confidence in English, please check out my website, meredithspielman.com, where you can learn more about working with me. I am also hosting a free accent diagnostic session where I will analyze the things that you need to improve in your pronunciation to speak more clearly. That will be in either July or August of 2023. So you have to subscribe to my newsletter to find out when that's going to be, which you can also do on my website, meredithspielman.com. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.